Okay, just in preparation for our testing, I just want to make sure that we're doing all this correctly. This is the end of our lead we're going to be doing our testing on to prove our circuit. So, and we're going to have our power supply, which is here, which is plugged into the power point. Just make sure it's all in the off position before you start. We're going to be using the AC power supply, therefore it's an active and a neutral, and we're going to be using 12 volts AC. Now, because this is all floating like this, I'd like to secure the end of this cable, therefore it needs to be at least 400 millimeters long, or thereabouts. So to do that, just nice and easily, we'll just break off a bit of tape, around about 8 inches. You can cut it if you like. There's a pair of side cutters. And we're going to make sure that we secure the cable that we're going to be putting the connection to. So to do this, just secure it to the handle like so, and just wrap the tape around it like that. So that while you're doing the test, there's no way that the actual conductor can fall away from its supply. Okay? So we'll connect the active, make sure the polarity is right. We'll put the black wire, which is the one on the left hand side, onto the neutral conductor, and we put the red wire onto the active conductor like so. Now, first thing we're going to do before we do that though, that's for the live test. I've just shown you the live test, but we need to prove how we've now wired the rest of the circuit. So now we're going to do our continuity test again by using our multimeter, and we're going to prove that the wire is wired correctly, and that the power point there we haven't changed, so that must still be wired correctly. We're just going to prove that the circuit is still working correctly. Now to do this, we'll just use the audible test again when we hear the noise. Check our meter first, we hear the noise. We check between active and neutral, and it should be infinite. Active and earth, and it should be infinite. And neutral and earth should be infinite. Now, that's all the case with the switch turned off and the light globe in. Note that the light globe is in the circuit now. If I turn the switch on, what should happen, I should get a closed circuit going out through the active conductor, going out through the globe, coming back through on the neutral conductor, through behind the power point, through the connectors behind here, and back to here. I should now have a closed circuit. And I do. And I should have an open circuit between active and earth and neutral and earth. Once I've proved that, I am ready for the live test. And to do that, you have to show the assessor, which is me in this case. If that is the case, before you do the live test. And now you're ready for the live test. To do the live test, make sure the switch is in the off position. Connect the conductors so the black goes to black. Be very careful to choose the right colour conductors. There's a limited supply, but I'm sure you won't all be doing it at once, so just be patient. So the neutral conductor is black, the active conductor is red. We're not using the earthing conductor because it's all double insulated equipment and our source doesn't have an earth termination point, so we just fold that back out of the way so it's not being used. Make sure our variable power supply is actually wound right down. We get a multimeter again just to prove our voltage is 12 volts. We don't want to introduce any more than 12 volts into the circuit. So if you like, we put our multimeter here. I'll put it up against here like so. We put it on the AC volt scale, which is as such. We now turn our power point on, turn our power supply on, and we can now prove at the power point when we have 24 volts between the active and neutral. So let's do that. Plug them into the active and neutral ports of your first power point here. Turn the switch on. There should be nothing there, so it's only a very low value, millivolts. So let's turn it up until we get 12 volts. Why are we not getting that? Right. Not getting a reading, that's why. Okay, that's better. Go back down again. Okay, go a bit higher. 8.5, 8.6, 9, 9.5. Can you see that? 9.5. I want to go to 12 volts. Right up to 11. Be accurate with this. Okay, once you go 12 volts, remember that you can't if you put too many volts through the supply to the globe, you'll blow the globe. I've got that sitting at 12.02, 12.01. I'm happy with that. Yep, that's floating a little bit. That's good. Okay, so we've proved that our power points work. Actually, nothing between there and Earth. That's correct. All that's good. Okay, that test is right. We'll put it back on there so we know that we've got our power supply on still. We turn our light switch on, and there's our light, and our light works. And that means our switch is correct. You see that the load of the light, which is, in this particular case, I think it's 20 watt, is putting a little bit of a load on the voltage, and therefore the voltage drops a bit. If I turn the switch off again, see how it floats back up? Okay, that means our source isn't infinite, it's a finite source, therefore when you put a load on it, the voltage goes down, because it's the old vehicle's IR rule. The resistance in the line versus the volt has a slight voltage drop because the load is drawing down the voltage a little bit, but not enough to affect the illumination of the lamp. Do it one more time, and there she is. And that's what you have to show me. Once you've completed that, you've completed the unit skills test practical component of it. Now you've just got to answer the questions on the rest of the paper document provided, and I'll just briefly go over that again. You must write down that test result on page 3 of 7 for all your test results as shown previously. So just write that down below there, what you've just done, what you've proven. Once you've filled out all your hazards for job 1, 2 and 3, in which you'll be able to ascertain that as you're working your way through that, you'll get to page 7 of 7, carry out the unit skills test, and complete the following questions 1, 2, 3 of that. Section 2. Section 3, completing the unit skills test, questions 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then a final question by me. And that's it. It's a bit of fun, there's a bit of learning, and I hope and wish you all do well. Good luck, guys. Thank you again for listening to me.